Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lesson 21, More Stuff, where we will basically cover a few more things that didn't fit into the last lesson that I think are important to learn. So first, let's look at some other words for I and me. So the only word we've learned so far is watashi, but there are actually a number of different ways to say I in Japanese. This isn't going to be an exhaustive list. We're just going to look at some of the major ones. So first up we have watakushi. Now this is considered a more humble and polite version of I. It's not something you're going to use much in your day-to-day speech, not with your coworkers or friends or classmates. It is used by workers in the service industry. For example, a hotel concierge might use watakushi when talking about themselves to a customer. Next, we have atashi. Now, this is considered more feminine than watashi, so it is mostly used by women and girls. Then we have boku. This is considered more masculine than watashi. It's mostly used by young boys, although it's not unheard of for it to be used by girls as well. And finally, there's ore. This is usually used by men. Now, it is something that you want to be really careful about using because it does get across a certain amount of self-importance, almost as if you're putting yourself above other people when you use ore to talk about yourself. So it's not something you're going to use when talking to strangers, probably not co-workers or anything like that. It's something that it might be considered acceptable to use when you're talking with your friends, however. Now we're going to look at one other word for you. Now, like with I and me, there are actually a number of different words for you in Japanese. However, some of them that I know of are considered quite impolite, so we're not going to look at those at all. We're really just going to look at one other one right now. And that word is omae. Now, this is a combination of the words o and mae. So o, as we learned, is a prefix that can be put at the beginning of words, usually to show respect, although not always. And in this case, it does not convey respect. Mae means front in Japanese. So when you say omae, you're literally saying something like the one in front of me. Now, you may have guessed from the way that that's phrased that this term is not considered very polite. It's kind of confrontational, so it's something you want to be careful about using. It can be acceptable to use this when you're talking with friends, with a boyfriend or girlfriend, a husband or wife. Now, we're going to look at some more honorifics in Japanese. The only honorific we've learned so far is san, but there are a lot more in the Japanese language. Again, this list we're going into is not going to be exhaustive at all. There are lots and lots of honorifics in Japanese, but I'm going to focus on some of the major ones right now. So first, we have sama. Now, using sama at the end of someone's name indicates a high level of respect, higher than san. Oftentimes, when you use sama, you are talking to someone who is your superior in some way. So for example, if you're dealing with a customer, you might use sama to refer to them. If you're addressing a letter to somebody, generally you write sama at the end of their name. So if we said kami-sama, that would mean God. If we said hotoke-sama, that would mean Buddha. Our next honorific is kun. This is used to refer to subordinates or to children. It is usually used on males, although it can be used on females as well, especially within a business context. It can also be used by friends to refer to each other. So if I said, Rentou-kun wa ii kodomo desu ne, that would mean Rentou is a good kid, isn't he? And our final honorific is chan. This can be used to refer to children and to girls. It can be used also by friends, lovers, and beloved individuals, regardless of gender. Generally, it has a much softer and affectionate feeling to it than kun does. So if I said, Boku wa Tomoko-chan ga daisuki desu yo. That would mean, I love Tomoko. And the final things we're going to learn about today are the verbs aru and iru. Now, we have used these some before. For example, when we use ja arimasen for our negative form, or when we use the te iru form to use the present progressive tense, we've used these verbs. But we haven't really gone into exactly what they are or what they mean in Japanese. So both of these verbs have a similar meaning to there is or there are. They can also be used to say that someone has something. We use aru to refer to inanimate objects, and we use iru to refer to living things like animals or people. So if I said, Anata wa okashi ga arimasu ka? That would mean, do you have candy? If I said, Asoko de supa ga arimasu, that would mean, there is a supermarket over there. If I said, Hayato-kun, kyōdai ga imasu ka? That would mean, Hayato, do you have siblings? And that new word, kyōdai, means sibling. And if I said, Anata wa doko ni imasu ka? That would mean, where are you? That's all for today. Again, no practice for this lesson. We will get back to that in the next lesson, though, so don't worry. Ja, mata.